INT to Joe, New York City night. Damion is training, throwing a flurry of punches and kicks. Burai thinking amazing, just amazing. Damion continues to fire off a flurry of punches and kicks. Burai thinking Damion Morgan is truly my greatest student. Kota and Burai just sit and watch as Damion continues to improve. Kota sensei, is there a chance that Damion could learn the Shimatsukin? Burai, I don't know. Show an image of Akira Takahashi. Burai voiceover. The Shimatsukin was created by the legendary karate master Akira Takahashi. Show an image of Akira Takahashi punching a massive rock. Burai voiceover. Legends said that he smashed boulder, created tidal waves and moved mountains when he trained. Kota voiceover. Wow. Show an image of Akira Takahashi being confronted by ninjas. Burai voiceover. According to the stories, an army of ninjas invaded Japan and encountered the legendary master. Show an image of Akira Takahashi pointing at the ninjas. Burai voiceover. Akira demanded that they leave and threatened to vaporize them with the Shimatsukin if they did not. Show an image of one of the ninjas stepping forward. Burai voiceover. But the ninja's leader stepped forward and scoffed at Akira's threat. Show an image of Akira Takahashi firing a massive burst of energy at the ninjas. Burai voiceover. Seeing that the ninjas did not believe the threat and foolishly stood their ground, Akira used his Shimatsukin. Show an image of the ninjas sitting up on the ground scared. Burai voiceover. Most of the ninjas, including their leader, had been completely annihilated. The ninjas sat up on the ground with fear in their eyes. Show an image of the ninjas retreating. Burai voiceover. And when Akira demanded that they leave or else the ninjas who lived what he did to the ninjas who did not, they instantly retreated. Kota, so could he do it? Burai, well, that event was over so long ago, and most people today consider Akira Takahashi to be nothing more than a legend such as Hercules, King Arthur and Sun Wukong. Damion continues training. Damion, while throwing punches and kicks. Hey, I heard rumors that the criminal origination Kaiju had moved their base here. Maybe you should teach me the Shimatsukin so I could bring them all down in one shot. Burai. Akira Takahashi lived over 1,000 years ago, and nobody, since that time, martial artists, assassins and Shaolin monks alike have tried to learn Shimatsukin, and until this day none of them have even come close to learn it. Damion smirks while training. Damion, while throwing punches and kicks, so I guess that I won't be using it anytime soon. Cut to EXT New York City streets night. Damion is standing there. The Volt Vipers enter. Damion, well, if it isn't my arch enemies, the Volt Vipers. Lead Volt Viper, tonight we settle our differences. Damion, I wouldn't have it any other way. The Volt Vipers surround Damion. Volt Viper member number 3 reaches for a weapon. Damion jumps forward and kicks Volt Viper member number 3 right in the chin. Volt Viper member number 3 hits the street. Volt Viper member number 3 hairc. Volt Viper member number 2 walks forward. Damion kicks Volt Viper number 2 right in the stomach and punches him right in the face, sending him stumbling backwards. Damion runs forward and jumps into the air. Damion drop kicks Volt Viper member number 2, sending him down to the street, and a loud snap is heard. Volt Viper member number 2 screaming at my legs, I can't feel my legs. Damion turns around and looks at Volt Viper member number 4. Damon to Volt Viper member number 4. I hope you're ready for a beatdown. Damon punches out Volt Viper member number 4. Angle of Damon. Damon out with one punch. Volt Viper member number 6. Okay Morgan, you're the one who's gonna be raving in pain this time. Volt Viper member number 5 sneaks up right behind Damon. Damon grabs Volt Viper member number 5 and throws him directly at Volt Viper member number 6, knocking him out. Damon, what did that idiot say? Something about me being the one who would be raving in pain? Lead Volt Viper, oh don't worry, you will be. Volt Viper member number 5 gets up off the street. Lead Volt Viper, soften him up for me man. Volt Viper member number 5, you got it boss. Damon punches Volt Viper member number 5 right in the face, knocking him out. Volt Viper member number 1 charges at Damon swinging a knife. Volt Viper member number 1 swings his knife at Damon, with Damon dodging the knife every time. Damon grabs Volt Viper member number 1 and throws him at the wall. Volt Viper member number 1 crashes headfirst into the wall, knocking him out. Damon stares at the lead Volt Viper. Angle of Damon. Damon to lead Volt Viper, you don't have any more of your cronies to protect you. Damon cracks his knuckles. Damon, so let's have some fun. Show Volt Viper member number 3 sneaking up right behind Damon. Damon slings his fist backwards, punching Volt Viper member number 3 right in the face, knocking him out. Volt Viper member number 3 falls to the street. Damon, so where were we? Oh wait, I remember, this is the part where I kick the living shit out of that weak, scrawny little body of yours. Damon steps forward ready to beat up the lead Volt Viper. George voice over to lead Volt Viper, while pissed off you. George enters. George, you're the punk who messed up my car. Lead Volt Viper laughs. Lead Volt Viper, yeah, that was a riot. George, well then, since I assume that you think that what you did to my car was some kind of prank, why don't I show you what I think is funny? Lead Volt Viper sarcastically, I can't wait to see it. George pulls out a gun. Angle on lead Volt Viper's face. George, oh, just for the record, I'm one of the 3 leaders of Kaiju. George looks over at Damon. George, consider yourself lucky that I am late, because if I wasn't I'd shoot you too. George puts the gun back into the holster. George, since you were the last one to see this piece of shit before I killed him, you'll probably take the blame instead of me killing you as well. George walks off. Angle of Damon. Damon, thinking you shot your mouth off, I now know where to strike you. Damon runs off into the night. Cut to INTK base conference room night. George enters. Martin, George, where the hell were you? George, blowing out the brains of the punk that thought that it would be funny to make my car his bitch. John, understood. George, why don't we just start the link up and we can talk about my car later? John, sure. Martin, yeah, it's about time we have a few words with the government. John, Martin, and George sit down right behind the control panel. EXTK base parking lot night. Damon stand outside of the parking lot of Kaiju's base. INTK base conference room night. John, Martin, and George each press a button and a giant TV screen attached to 4 smaller TV screens on the corners of the main screen descends into middle of the room. INTK base night. An unnamed Kaiju soldier is on guard duty. Damon's voice, "Hey asshole." The unnamed Kaiju Solider turns around with a scared look on his face. Angle on the unnamed Kaiju Solider's face. Cut to black as the sound of Damon punching out the unnamed Kaiju Solider can be heard in the background. INT Cage Base Conference Room Night. Martin, we have 3 doomsday weapons, and if you don't want us using any of them on the United States, you will turn control of the country over to us. A named Congressman number 2 appearing on the screen. That's absurd. We won't give over to you. Martin, the Senate already did. A named Congressman number 1 appearing on the screen and scared W. What? A named Congressman number 2 appearing on the screen and scared. No, this can't be. John, oh, it is. George, like we said, Kaiju has 3 doomsday weapons, one of which isn't even on Earth. INT Congress Night. 3 congressmen are interacting with John, Martin, and George over a massive TV screen in the middle of the room. A named Congressman number 3 appearing on the screen and scared. No, I don't believe it, you're bluffing. John appearing on the screen. Well then, why don't you check through a government satellite? A named Congressman number 3. You may be Kaiju, and that only the military will approve of this normally insane request. EXT Space Night. A government satellite spots the Astro Smasher, Kaiju Space Doomsday Weapon. INT Congress Night. Angle on the TV in the middle of the room. Show the Astro Smasher firing a laser, blowing up the government satellite on the TV screen. The 3 congressmen stand there with a scared look on their faces. John, Martin, and George appear on the TV screen. INT Cage Base Conference Room Night. Martin, do you still think that we're bluffing? A named Congressman number 3 appearing on the screen and scared. No, we don't. A named Congressman number 2 appearing on the screen and scared. We give, you win. A named Congressman number 1 appearing on the screen and scared, but the only thing is that we will have to convince both the Senate and the President that your threat is valid. Martin, well, you better, because it doesn't matter, because either way when this ends, Kaiju will be the government. Damon appears on the small screen on the attached to the bottom left corner of the main screen. John, you have 42 hours to make your decision. John, Martin, and George each press a button and the giant TV screen turns off. Martin, who is that? George, the man who was supposed to take the blame for the man who I just murdered. John, you should have killed them both. INT Cage Base Hallway Night. Damon is walking down the hallway. George over the intercom, listen, we don't know who you are, but if you value your life, I suggest that you leave. Damon, you're that asshole who tried to frame me for shooting the leader of the Volt Vipers gang. Martin over the intercom, leave now, if you want to live. Damon, I'm coming for you, so get bent. John over the intercom, okay. You asked for it. Damon continues walking down the hallway. The door at the end of the hallway opens up and 8 Kaiju soldiers walk out of it. Angle on Damon. Damon, bring it on. Damon charges at the 8 Kaiju soldiers. Damon jumps into the air and drop kicks a named Kaiju Solider number 2, knocking him out. Damon elbows a named Kaiju Solider number 5 right in the face and knocks him out. A named Kaiju Solider number 4, what a he. Damon punches a named Kaiju Solider number 4 right in the stomach. A named Kaiju soldiers number 1 and number 7 pull out their guns and fire. Damon uses a named Kaiju Solider number 4 as a human shield. Damon throws a named Kaiju Soldier number 4 at the named Kaiju soldiers number 1 and number 7, knocking them down. Damon charges directly at the named Kaiju Soldier number 6 and slams him into the south wall, knocking him out. Damon punches out the named Kaiju Soldier number 1. Damon kicks a named Kaiju Soldier number 7 right in the chin, knocking him out and causes him to drop his gun. Damon picks up a named Kaiju Soldier number 7's gun. Damon shoots a named Kaiju Soldier number 8 in the wrist, causing him to drop his gun. A named Kaiju Soldier number 8 screaming in pain at. A named Kaiju Soldier number 3 aims his gun at Damon. Damon kicks a named Kaiju Soldier number 8 into the way of a named Kaiju Soldier number 3's gun as he fired. A named Kaiju Soldier number 8 gets shot in the back and falls to the floor. Damon shoots a named Kaiju Soldier number 3 in the wrist, causing him to drop his gun. Damon charges directly at the named Kaiju Soldier number 3, knees him in the stomach and then punches him in the face. Damon punches out the named Kaiju Soldier number 3. Damon picks up another gun. Kaiju base control room night. Damon kicks down the door. Damon walks in and looks around the room, showing things from Damon's point of view. Damon looks at a computer. Angle on a computer. Damon thinking hum. Damon looks at a ventilation shaft. Stop showing things from Damon's point of view. Damon tears open the ventilation shaft. Kaiju base conference room night. A ventilation shaft on the east wall of the room busted open and Damon used it to drop into the room. Damon, alright assholes, I'm going to drag you three to the police, but first I'm going to have a lot of fun beating the three of you halfway to death. Martin, we have guns and you don't, so back off. Damon, go ahead and uses them, I dare you, but if you three really are so great you wouldn't need them, it is 3-on-1. George, well, it technically is 3 against 1. John, I'm in, let's teach this guy some respect. The three leaders of Kaiju charge at Damon. Damon falls into his martial arts stance and charges into battle. Damon knees John in the chin. John York. John falls to the floor. George and Martin jump backwards and then charge at Damon. Martin runs up to Damon and throws a punch at him, but Damon blocks it. Martin headbutts Damon. George grabs Damon from behind. George the first got him, now let him have it, Martin. Martin will do. Martin punches Damon in the stomach 3 times. Damon kicks George in the stomach 3 times, sending him stumbling backwards. Damon uses the back of his head to slam George right in the chin. Damon elbows George in the ribs, causing George to let go of Damon. Damon elbows George right in the nose. Damon spins around and punches in the face George 3 times. Damon kicks George right in the stomach, sending him flying directly into the south wall. Damon, is that all you've got? Martin, oh, I think we have at least one more surprise. George, run. George dives forward and crawls forward. Damon seriously crawling like a worm. John, give him a few seconds. George gets up off of the floor and stands beside John and Martin. Martin, here's our final surprise. John, Martin and George pull out their guns. Damon, go on, do it, fire, I dare you. George, livid / screaming, this is for the beating that you just dealt me. John, just remember you literally asked us for this, asshole. John, Martin and George are about to pull the triggers. An automatic turret trap is activated and shoots the guns out of John, Martin and George's hands. Damon, you're probably wondering how I did that. Before I arrived to kick your asses, I paid a little visit to one of your control rooms and I reprogrammed one of your defense systems and deactivated the rest. Oh, and just for the record, I also deactivated all of your communication systems, so don't think that you will be calling anyone for help. Angoulême Damon. John, thinking this can't be happening, this has to be a nightmare. Damon, go on, do it already, kill me, blow my brains out. George reaches into his jacket. George pulls out a knife. George charges directly at Damon. Damon taunting, what, you're not going to shoot me? Damon thinking, because a knife is something that I can definitely handle. George rams directly into Damon with his elbow. Damon thinking, okay, I admit I wasn't prepared for that. The blow causes Damon to stumble backwards. George stabs Damon right in the chest with the knife. Damon, screaming, "Ack!" Angoulême Damon. Martin thinking, George did it, we're actually winning. A pissed off look comes across Damon's face. Damon punches George right in the face, sending him flying backwards. Damon pulls the knife out of his chest. John, to George, hey George, we're losing the fight, so I vote for protocol final radiation. George, no, I can still win this fight. Damon punches George right in the face. Martin, I second that, I want out of this nightmare. Computer protocol final radiation. Kaiju base computer protocol final radiation activated. George throws a punch at Damon, but he caught it. Damon screaming at George, you can't win this fight. Kaiju base computer opening Fallout Shelter number 1. Fallout Shelter number 1 emerges from the floor and opens up. Damon punches George right in the face, grabs a hold of him and throws him directly into the west wall. Damon runs forward. Damon thinking, well, I've found my way out. Damon stops running, grabs a chair and throws it at John. The chair hits John. Damon pulls out one of the guns that he stole from one of the Kaiju soldiers and shoots Martin in the back. Martin falls to the ground. George gets up off of the floor and picks up the knife that he had dropped. George chases after Damon with the knife. George screaming in anger, die. Damon stops running and turns around. George swings the knife at Damon. Damon catches George's wrist. Begins showing things from Damon's point of view. Angle on George. Damon's vision begins to blur. Damon thinking, crap. Things are getting blurry, I've got to end this before I die due to blood blues. Stop showing things from Damon's point of view. Damon is struggling against George. Damon thinking, okay, max power. Damon punches George right in the face, knocking him out. Damon stumbles right into Fallout Shelter number 1. Fallout Shelter number 1 closes. Kaiju base computer opening Fallout Shelter number 2. Fallout Shelter number 2 emerges from the floor and opens up. John gets up and drags Martin and George into Fallout Shelter number 2. Fallout Shelter number 2 closes. INT Kaiju base conference room Fallout Shelter number 1 night. Damon falls down to the ground and passes out due to blood blues. Kaiju base computer opening Fallout Shelter number 3. EXT Kaiju base night. The base of Kaiju explodes.